Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the ICT Educator webinar series for the fall of 2020. I'm Steve Wright. I'm the statewide director for the ICT sector team. If you visit our website, you can see our 10 regional directors and Nicole Sherman, who is the producer of this series and our newsletter. We started this weekly ICT Educator webinar series as an alternative to attending conferences. However, one of the best opportunities for faculty training in the rapidly evolving ICT sector, summer and fall ICT conferences is put on by WASTC, which is Karen Stanton and Richard Grotegut. Right here you can see information you need to register now for their January 7th and 8th ICT Winter Conference. We're going to look forward to that one. On our website, we have currently have over 35 recorded webinars included in various different subject areas, carefully selected experts presented, how-to techniques, and every webinar is video recorded, edited, chapterized, and then transcripted along with the PowerPoint presentations. We've had 3,500 views to date. Many of our faculty consider this an excellent source of material for class, for grant writing, and further research. And today's webinar should be posted in about a week. Coming up in the next few weeks, we're looking at Microsoft Teams, which is an important skill set for a lot of companies these days in the COVID environment. Oh, anyhow, really. Then we're going to hear from Google, looking at their portfolio of certificates they're rolling out, as well as their employer engagement strategy. And then we'll take a look at how college faculty can benefit from the self-taught programmer movement. Self-taught programmers is on Facebook is a fellow, Corey Althoff, who has about over 100,000 students that are teaching themselves code. So it's a wonderful thing to learn how they do it. Today, we're going to hear about the Bay Regional Cloud Computing Pathways, a development that's being supported by our regional director team. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and let them switch over and take the helm. But first, we'll do a survey and see who's out here. All right, we're about 90% voted right here. This looks good. California Community Colleges at 80% and lots of representation from other areas. This is good. All right, Ray, it's over to you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy Friday. So this is our topic for today is about the Bay Area implementation of the cloud computing program. We refer to ourselves as Bay ICT. What we're going to do is briefly introduce the three regional directors up here. I'll give an overview of how this project is organized, and then we're just going to do some examples of various programs around in the area, and we'll wrap up with some Q&A. So the folks who are currently the regional directors for the Bay Area, myself, I came from industry originally, spent time I started my career actually at Apple Computer back before Apple had adult supervision, I guess. And then started teaching about 16 years ago, became an administrator, and now I'm a regional director for the Bay Area, along with my two colleagues. Olivia, you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Sure. I also come from industry, been working in customer-facing organizations in tech since the mid-'70s, and joined the community college workforce development effort with MPIC in 2010. And I have been an adjunct myself since 2002, primarily teaching in MBA and business programs. I'm pretty excited now to be a part of this team, and looking to do a lot more outreach to K-12 and employers.
And Richard.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. Richard Grotegut, and I did not come from industry. I'm the permanent educator, 35 years of teaching, in the last 25 in the colleges, and I think I'm the older regional director, having been the only one here for the first 3 years. I'm so happy to have Ray and Olivia on board as well.
Great. So so this is interesting for those who are not from the Bay Area. You're not familiar with some of this vocabulary, I think, but we have a different way of implementing regional funding, regional strong workforce funding in the Bay Area. We have this process called an RJV. RJV stands for Regional Joint Venture. And in the Bay Area region, the colleges held on to most of the regional funds. And then if you want to do a project, you have to go out to the colleges and get them to support that project, just like you would a startup or any other kind of joint venture. So that's what the RJV stands for. We basically organized the activities, like all of our projects, into these categories. So we work closely with our K-12 technical assistant provider, which is Sharon Turner in our case, on dual enrollment, articulation kind of activities with the secondary school partners. Olivia has been focusing on industry relations, so the Bay ICT partnership itself, and she's also organized our community of practice, which you may want to join for faculty folks. Richard has been concentrating on professional development activities, curriculum, and then also relationships with the various technology vendors involved in the space. And then I'm kind of the overall, I guess I functioned like an executive director of this particular project. And so I take care of the budgeting and timelines, metrics, overall planning, and then I have a governance structure. So there are 3 colleges who form a steering committee. And I actually answer to that steering committee for governance issues. Those 3 colleges are Diablo Valley College, that would be Beth Arman there, Foothill College and Teresa Ong at Foothill, and then Alex Kramer at College of San Mateo. So it is a little different than having all the money, in a pot where you kind of get to decide how to spend it. The colleges spend money. Some of it is in a pot with the RJV, and then the colleges spend money out of their own, on their own projects that are integrated into this overall structure. So it can be a little complicated. There's an element of herding cats here, but it also creates a level of engagement from the colleges that I think is really valuable to the success of the project. We have 2 kind of guiding principles. The first one is we believe that industry certifications are what get people jobs. It's just as simple as that. And there are so many of them. Here's just the Google Cloud certifications. Here's a few of the AWS certifications. Here's a few of the CompTIA certifications. But in every case, we're trying to encourage the programs at the colleges to structure their programs so that they're preparing students for at least some of these certifications along the way, because we believe that certifications are how folks get the job. And then the second point is the cloud. People think of the cloud as like this discrete thing. Well, here's the cloud and here's cybersecurity and here's, programming, and they're separate. They're not. The cloud is everything. The cloud is everywhere. We believe that the cloud is what computing has become. And so we're about cloud everywhere. And so we're not just looking at cloud specific programs. We're also looking at cloudifying existing programs. And to give an example of one of those, we've invited Kaz from Cabrillo to talk about her workspace program. And Kaz, I'm hoping you're there.
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Hi, so I'm Kaz Pereira. I'm the teacher in residence at the Krause Center for Innovation at Foothill College.
I'm sorry, I said Cabrillo. I meant Foothill.
I live in Santa Cruz, it works. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our Google Workspace program. It's a new program that we've established and we're kind of working on right now. So shortly after the pandemic hit, back in March, we started looking for ways that we could assist folks who'd been furloughed or laid off because of the different closures. Because we knew, obviously some jobs are going to come back when things reopen, but a lot of industries are probably going to take a lot longer to recover. And then some people are just not going to be going back to work probably. And we wanted to create something for these like entry-level people, the people who are most likely to lose their jobs and not get them back, where they could develop some marketable skills that they could use to re-enter the workforce. So Google Workspace kind of seemed like the perfect way for us to do this. First of all, the applications are free, right? They're cloud-based, so you don't need a specific like computer or laptop. They are largely mobile friendly, so you could even actually learn them on a phone if you needed to. They're also user friendly, so there's not that like initial barrier to access where you go in and you just don't even know how to start learning what you're learning, right? So there's a little bit of a step up. And then we're also a Google training partner at the Krause Center for Innovation for Google Ed. So it kind of seemed like a natural fit for us to bring this in. So with that in mind, we developed 7 non-credit short courses centered around key Google Workspace apps with the intention of eventually combining them all into a non-credit certification program. And the curriculum for each course is modeled around Google's own training modules, but then we've augmented that with best practices in online education, because that's kind of where my background comes in. So students can learn with multiple modalities, they can practice the skills, but then they have the flexibility to apply those to their own workplace goals or situations. So it scales for whichever direction they want to take it. They can get detailed and responsive feedback. They have on-demand access to instructors for one-to-one live help if they need, like if they get stuck or they need something. So yeah, the general idea is that they're like, it says career pathway adjacent, right? So they apply to multiple career pathways. It's not like you use Google Workspace, then you're going to get the Google Workspace job, right? But a ton of industries will use Google Workspace. And even once you use something like Microsoft, there's a pretty big level of skill transferability there. So the idea is we're not creating a direct pipeline to a very specific job, but we're kind of supplementing those other pathways that have that pipeline with a skill set that applies to lots of them. So at this point in time, we've written the courses. We're working on ways to schedule them. We're making sure we have adequate enrollment to justify the certificate part of the program. There's challenges, of course, as we work with a bunch of systems. There's new rules in how attendance is taken for non-credit distance learning courses, and it's going to make it difficult for us to create an open entry, open exit model, which is what we had originally planned on doing. And Google, because they're Google, is always, making something just long enough so that people get used to it and then completely changing it. So they're scrapping their Workspace cloud certification in December of this year, and they're going to be spending next year, 2021, developing a whole new certification program that's more geared towards enterprise. So we're trying to remain flexible so that we can sort of accommodate the change. But what we know we're going to do, right, the things that we're definitely sure about and where we're going to go from here is we're going to, even though it makes the attendance hard, it makes the wish collection hard, we want to keep the program entirely online. We want to keep the courses primarily asynchronous, but with the option for synchronous coaching and assistance from an instructor, because we don't want people to have to commute or find bus fare or have scheduling conflicts or any of those issues that prevent people, who have jobs and lives from being able to take one of these courses. We also want people to be able to take them when they want to take them or when they have the time and not be limited by having to wait for the start of the next quarter, a few months away, right? So they can get the training. So we intentionally made every course super short. So they range between 3 and 7 hours each. Obviously, some will probably take longer if people are super new to something like Sheets, but the idea is to keep them really short. And if we're not able to offer them open entry, open exit, then we're probably going to offer them multiple times each quarter in an overlapping pattern so people can kind of join when they're ready and they don't have to wait. And so they can mix and match the courses according to what their interests and needs are. And again, even though it's going to cause an attendance headache, we want to keep them non-credit because that will keep them completely free for people to take. So beyond figuring out how to schedule everything, we're working on getting the word out and getting enrollment. We're working with local organizations. We're hoping to get our courses included on the eligible training providers list, which is what the workforce development boards rely on when they're choosing to send displaced workers to get new job skills. And finally, since Google's ending their certification, there might be an opportunity for us to build a program that fits into that niche, that sort of hole that they're leaving there for people who need to understand the basics of these cloud computing programs and who are going into other industries, but they're not going into like engineering, right, or cloud engineering. So it seems like there might be a need for people who have these skills to have some kind of certificate, right, that demonstrates that they have them. So that might be an option for us. So we're going to keep an eye on how Google reimagines their program in 2021, and we'll see if we can adapt what we have to align with what they're doing, or if it makes sense to go in a totally different direction given our learner population. So yeah, we've only kind of just begun, but there's a lot of excitement, you know, to be helping people and for the different ways that we can grow and adapt this program as we go.
So thanks, Kaz. That was our sort of first example program. I just wanted to point out that cloud is not just, you know, AWS development stuff. Cloud is, you know, every part of computing these days. And we're very excited about the short duration reskilling programs, which this is clearly going to be part of. I want to turn the control over to Richard now.
Yeah, thank you, Ray, and hopefully everybody can hear me okay. You know, I've been involved for some time now with the CID process and the development of the IT standard courses aligned to skills and competencies and also to certification. And really nowhere under this umbrella of the cloud has there been more disruption than within information technology. IT faculty up and down the state have been paying attention, working together, and attempting to develop those course standards that make up the IT model curriculum. So within those courses, for the recent update, which has been vetted and approved by community college and CSU faculty, including cloud computing skills, was at the top of the list. And so we've been able to do that with our fundamental courses in fundamental skills and competencies to the ITC fundamental course descriptors in programming, networking, and also in operating systems, and then updating and developing ITMC electives to directly address cloud computing fundamentals, security, operations and management, and database. And in order to really do that, we needed to make sure we address the important fundamental skills. And these list of fundamental supporting skills have been vetted by industry and addressed in our ITMC core courses. And then the more cloud-specific skills, too, vetted, approved by industry, focused on certification by industry, and those are addressed in those ITMC cloud electives that I showed you earlier. Now, in order to do this work and to be able to keep up with the changes and making sure our courses are on top, we really need the help from our industry partners. And you know, keeping up, staying up to date with the curriculum and the skills are even more important with Cisco. And I put Cisco's Academy at the top of the list. You know, next month, I'm going to begin my 24th year as a Cisco Academy instructor. You know, if you want to teach networking, this is the partnership to go on. For cloud computing, though, however, there are other partnerships that can help. VMware and NDG, the NetLab folks, have a series of great little mini courses in Linux, virtualization, cloud technologies. All of these are free. They can easily be embedded into existing courses in your campus LMS, and they address a number of the important competencies that were discussed earlier. Google, too, has been involved in developing coursework, and they have things that can help you as well, along with the Google Workspace and the Google IT Support Certificate. They have a very nice 40-hour Cloud Foundations course that comes complete with instructor resources, numerous hands-on labs and assessments, and you know, this curriculum and content is free as well. By far, though, I think it's been AWS, Amazon that's really stepped up. Their AWS Educate program provides incredible, resources for instructors and their students. And additionally, the AWS Academy program has made great strides lately. This is the content that I'm using in the courses that I teach in cloud. They include a Canvas shell that can be easily embedded with your campus shell as well. Includes all kinds of content that they are responsible for. They create the content, they update the content. That's a tremendous load off of an instructor's list of things to do when they don't have to do and write their own labs. And most importantly, they, whoops, let me get this back here. They provide a sandbox and an access to their console, the AWS console, to be able to do the hands-on labs that are so critical and that were rather difficult for instructors to put together. So to provide more information on the AWS Academy program, I've asked John Lee, who's on the call, to take a few minutes to talk about the program, say a few words, and tell us about some things that are coming up that might be of interest to those of you that are looking at AWS Academy. So John, I don't know if you're on, if you could unmute, introduce yourself.
I have. Thank you, Richard. Just take a couple of minutes here. My name is John Lee, AWS Academy Program Manager. And Richard was gracious enough to give me a few minutes and also sharing on the screen what you see of our program. Basically, for those of you, many of you, I know you're already on it and using, some of you may be new, but AWS Academy was created to address the question, where will the next generation of cloud computing professional come from, and how do we address the need? And so our answer is to work collaboratively with higher education institutions and with the industry to deliver an embedded skills pathways that prepare students for cloud computing and IT roles. So, and AWS Academy is committed to closing the skill gap that exists today. And we provide education institutions with free cloud computing curriculum and resources that largely map to industry recognized AWS certifications, Cloud Foundations, Cloud Developing, Cloud Operations, Solutions Architect, and others. And many institutions across the United States, many in California community colleges, are currently members of the Academy and building out what I call, and I think what's becoming more popular, cloud computing certificate or degree program. So that as number of speakers this morning mentioned already, that everything now is pretty much cloud, and that's how whole developing and academic programs going toward it. So developing, and we're working with AWS Educate and Academy together to help build cloud computing program, whether it be courses, certificate, curriculum, or a whole program. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to share more later at another time. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great, thanks, John. And I was happy to learn that John Bierke, whom I worked with, for many years with Cisco Academy, is now part of the AWS Academy team as well. I don't know if John's on the call or not, but it's great to have him too. And working together, I think we can really help instructors be able to deliver the content that they need today. So
our next example is a segue directly out of this last bit here. I think I'm hoping Mike and Bob are on the call and can unmute themselves and talk a little bit about the cloud computing program evolution at Foothill College.
Thanks, Ray. I think we're both here.
Great.
Bob's here too.
Good. So I got involved with the Santa Monica folks relatively early, and I've taught the first Santa Monica course a couple of times. But here are the list of classes that we're teaching at Foothill. Yeah, these are the past offerings. I'm sorry, these are the past offerings. So I taught the beginning class a couple of times early in both 2018 and 2019. The curriculum has been very popular. The classes have been pretty much waitlisted on opening day for every class we've offered so far. we've ended up with about 45 students per class. It's at Census Day. And we've got a hugely diverse population in the classes, which makes it very challenging. We have students that virtually know nothing. We have people that know a lot more than I do. So it's a very, very broad group of people. You really need to know something about virtualization and something about networking when you come into the classes. So it's been a challenge to really get everybody on a kind of an equal footing. Our classes are being offered online, face-to-face, and hybrid. So we have this new mode that I'm sure all of you are using, this face-to-face synchronous, which is an online delivery, and then the asynchronous delivery, which is our typical program. The shells we're using were all provided by the courtesy of the folks at Santa Monica. They provided us Canvas shells, and we've made substantial modifications to them because it's a moving target, and we also are trying to personalize them to what we're doing. And if anybody is interested, I can certainly make the Foothill shells available if someone wants them. So we just got a certificate of achievement approved. And the courses that are in this particular certificate of achievement are the Introduction to Linux, the first Cisco CCNA class, and the 4 cloud classes. And the cloud classes are an intro class, a course focusing on the AWS database offerings, primarily RDS and DynamoDB, a course on compute engines, which is not only EC2, but it's virtually all of the AWS compute services, and then a rather detailed course on security. The learning, well, okay, moving target. So clearly AWS is a moving target. Interfaces change, and actually services seem to come and go. So it's been a real challenge for us, or me at this point, to keep coordinated with what's going on in the program. Bob Sandor joined us at Foothill, I believe it's been a year ago, and he's been teaching the introductory class, and we'll start teaching the more advanced classes starting next quarter. He's going to be teaching the compute class next quarter. The learning in these classes all comes through the lab assignments and projects, and they're challenging because some of the lab assignments that were in the courses that came from Santa Monica are either no longer current or actually no longer available. So we're having to, it's sort of a moving target. AWS, like I say, changes constantly. We're trying to figure out what a good baseline of knowledge is. And we're not going to put prerequisites on these classes. We just don't do that in our department, but we may get advisories and be more picky on the advisories. We've had 5 students apply for the certificate of achievement just because it just became available. And I'm sure they're all going to be approved. We've been processing them. We've also had a number of students get their AWS cloud practitioner. Well, it's the cloud practitioner certificate. We've had a number of students going through our program that have done that. So future plans, we're going to continue to enhance Santa Monica courses. Now, something that I would love to do, if we could somehow get a little group going, and I'd love to have partners with maintaining these courses. I think arguably these courses are really much better courses for beginners than the certification courses. In my mind, the certification courses, the academy courses really require some base knowledge before you can be successful in them. So we're going to recommend that our beginning students go through the 455 A, B, C, and D series, and our experienced students go ahead and start immediately with the AWS Academy courses. I've got the Academy Cloud Foundations and the Academy Solutions Architecture class are both approved. We won't be able to teach them until summer of 2021. We have a rather long, arduous curriculum process at Foothill. And we intend to do we intend to follow the Academy offerings, and hopefully we will have more classes in the future.
I do want to mention one thing. Although it's not really integral to this presentation, like Mike was talking about having a a group of folks to work on things collaboratively. And Olivia is leading the development of a community of practice for faculty people that all folks are welcome to in the ICT digital media area. And I think that would be a perfect opportunity for that, that group to get together. There's infrastructure there to support those kind of activities. Olivia, you want to say just a word or two about the community of practice for a minute or so here?
Yes, please. And thank you for bringing it up, because this is how we hope to continue to do other types of collaboration in the region. So if you're interested and want to participate in an endeavor like this, just go to our bayict.org website and to the faculty page, and there is a form there for which you can let us know you want to participate in the community of practice. This is also going to be the vehicle in which we will be collaborating with the rest of the partnership with our employers when we start doing curriculum, getting their input to curriculum across all of the other programs as well. So I urge you to get on the list so that we can get you set up. It's a Canvas site, so that's why we need you to let us know that you want to participate.
Great, thanks. Our next example, I am really excited not to need to talk about this because I noticed that Jen Vered has jumped onto the call.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jennifer Vered. I'm from Cabrillo College. I'm the department chair from the Cabot Department, Computer Applications and Business Technology. We have quite a few certificates going on, and one that Ray wanted me to talk about was our Salesforce or our CRM certificate. And we are in the process of submitting that to the state as a certificate of achievement, and also trying to make it available in a one semester format, because it is quite a bit of units for our students. So trying to condense it so that it can be done in a shorter term. It currently contains 6 courses and can be completed in 2 semesters, but we'd like to either move it into the one semester format, and also we are thinking of adding in an Outlook class as the students need those kind of base skills of communication and email management to kind of understand a lot of the things that go on in Salesforce. Some of the issues that we've run up against are similar to what Mike Murphy was talking about, just a real diverse group of students and their diverse knowledge base. So students really need to come into a certificate like this, a certificate program like this, with some basic business communication background, some business concept, computer skills. And so just throwing them in there without much experience is very challenging. So that's where we are. We are also looking at modifying the classes a bit and updating the curriculum. We've been working on, we've run these classes a couple times now, our Salesforce classes, and we have feedback from the instructors and the students about what's challenging for them, what additional resources they need, what might need to be moved around. So we're working on that curriculum as well because it's all pretty new for us.
I did want to point out that when the Salesforce, when the folks from Salesforce went over the curriculum and the detailed course outline, it looked like it was, almost every single thing that somebody needed in order to pass the Salesforce Administrator certification. So this is like really, really close to covering every single thing that somebody needs to pass that.
Yes, we have some limitations in terms of including these classes in our degrees and certificates in terms of units and time, and so it's all about juggling that when we're planning and programming these classes. Yes, so we are in the process of getting it registered And perhaps we could include an additional third level that would include that end certification for that certificate. And as I mentioned, yes, creating a short duration version. And we have to figure out how that would work. Again, working with Ray and the powers that be to perhaps batch enroll students in a group program.
Interesting to hear my name in the same sentence with powers that be. But Jen has pointed out some of the incredible challenges. You know, there's this big push right now for these short duration, you know, reskilling programs, and I think there are a ton of challenges around pulling that off and doing it
Yes,
successfully, where students, you know,
because we want them to succeed. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that, you know, yes, we can condense the programs down, but we want to make sure that they're coming into the program prepared enough to succeed, and that it does give them enough time to actually comprehend all of these new skills. So, you know, there's those two sides to the coin.
Great, thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
And then our last example, and unfortunately Alex can't join us right now, but I've been working with him on this project, so I'll talk through this one. College of Marin has put together an apprenticeship program for virtual reality, which I think is just a fascinating program. There's an incredible labor market demand for people in the VR development side of things. And some of that development is, you know, pretty highly, you know, high levels of education through master's degrees and PhDs on, you know, modeling and simulations and stuff. But there's a bunch of jobs in this industry that are going lacking for the folks who create the environments that are used in VR. And it turns out that that's a relatively short-term educational pathway. And what Alex has done is created a Department of Labor registered apprenticeship for a VR developer at College of Marin. And he's also integrated it with a set of pre-apprenticeship activities at the high schools up there in the North Bay, so that students are, so he's building a pipeline into this apprenticeship program. And there's a short video here. I'm going to go ahead and run it to give you a sense of how this gets used in instructional programs, in other CTE instructional programs.
After trainees log in, they move at their own pace through the hands-on learning simulations. The simulations allow trainees to gain experience, make mistakes, turn the compression gauge clockwise, and build confidence in their abilities. During the instruction, trainees interact with the virtual coach to develop their skills. Keep turning. Great work. The trainees then demonstrate their knowledge through hands-on practice. The trainees receive a comprehensive foundation in automotive fundamentals across a broad range of topics, ranging from simple oil changes to brake pad service. Trainees gain an understanding of safety considerations to prepare them for the workplace. Simulation-based training can happen wherever and whenever needed without expensive industry equipment or expert personnel. Trainees' progress data is tracked and is immediately available for instructor review.
So you sort of see how you can take a classic brick and mortar program and take what at least some percentage of the lab work that would be done in a physical lab and move it to virtual reality. And you know, every piece of that hands-on work that you can move into the virtual world represents huge savings in terms of facilities, and in many cases the key gating factor in the number of students who can go through those CTE programs is that physical lab. So whatever you can do to free up the physical lab obviously is good news. Alex is currently applying for grants to expand this program, and part of that is to expand to meet the labor market for the development of the virtual reality environments. But the other part is working with additional CTE programs to create VR materials that could be used in our CTE programs around the state. So, some of the obvious candidates: healthcare, construction, hospitality is kind of interesting, transportation. And there's this idea, a sort of a bigger idea, that we could have our virtual reality apprentices through instructional programs creating instructional materials for other CTE programs around the state, and create a cloud-based repository for those materials that could be shared widely. So kind of a really creative and innovative program that's happening up at College of Marin, and I'd be happy to connect you with Alex, and he sent his regrets on not being able to make the call today. So the idea behind this presentation was to give you a sense of how we think about cloud in the Bay Area region, to give you a peek into how we've sort of organized some of our activities, and then to just showcase a few examples of programs. This is by no means every cloud program in the Bay Area. It's just a few examples that show the range of things that we're doing in cloud, from the work with Google Workspace through the AWS work at Foothill and into virtual reality at College of Marin. And I did want to leave time. I haven't been following in the chat box, but I know that I suspect that there are questions in the chat box. So we're at that point. I'll put this slide up for a second, and you can see our email addresses. Any one of us can answer specifics on the overall program. I'm probably the best contact person. On things about employer engagement and community of practice activities, you're going to want to talk to Olivia. And on items about curriculum and specific technology vendor relations, Richard's your person to talk to. There's our contact information and email addresses. And at this point, I'm going to get out of the slides.
It might be a good time to run that little survey, Ray.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a little survey to find out where the audience here is in terms of their curriculum development. And I appreciate what has been shown here. We'll get to the questions in a second. This
Great.
is incredible work that's happening in the Bay region. And the idea was to share successes and challenges. And we're going to do another one of these on the Southern California piece, probably after the new year.
So, Steve, it looks like we've got about 10 minutes left, if I'm reading this right.
Yeah.
And just looking through the chat box to try and pick out the questions and who might answer. Let's see. Trevor is asking the question: the distinction between certificate and certification. So this is one of those vocabulary things. So a certificate, and just so we're all using the words the same way, I always thought a certificate was something that the college issued. A certification is something that's accredited or by some industry or industry group. So that's my understanding of the distinction between those two. And
yeah, there's a little blurring of that, Ray, between industry. Like the Google IT professional support is a certificate. So students taking that from Google just need to complete the 5-course sequence and they get the certificate. There's no certification exam at the end. So certification does have
you have to successfully complete the course.
The courses, yeah. So that's similar to what we do in academics. So, but it's offered by Google. Certification is where there is an exam you have to pass and meet that certification requirements.
AWS Academy, the Academic Alliance program for Salesforce, see, I'm not sure if Jen's still on the call, but the program at Cabrillo used the Trailhead, a lot of the Trailhead material from Salesforce for the curriculum in that.
Yeah, Salesforce does have an academic alliance program, which is a kind of a broad umbrella for some of their give backs to. I mean, the academy is a fairly popular approach by companies to engage with, in that, in the nonprofit world.
And then we have a question from Abigail that looks like it's for Mike.
Yes. Oh, can I ask the question?
Sure.
I'm trying to, it sounds like before the AWS Foundations certification that students need to have some basic knowledge. And so I hear that there, different schools are offering different classes to give that knowledge, but would just going by the Cloud Plus curriculum, if you did that one class that was learn the Cloud Plus curriculum, then take the AWS Foundations? Does anyone have a thought on?
I think that would be helpful, certainly, Abigail. I think that would be good. We did mention that there are some fundamental skills beforehand in networking and operating systems. Of some knowledge of virtualization is really helpful before you move into that first course. It's students often want a quick turnaround, though, and we do have students who come in with those prerequisite skills already. But yeah, no, all that is very helpful.
Richard, may I add something?
If I could, and if I could add in too. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. First of all, we did the 55 A, B, C, and D long before we got involved with AWS Academy. So 55 A, B, C, and D, we're hoping are very, very close to preparation for the solutions architect. It's way overkill for the cloud foundations.
Yeah.
And if I could kind of chime in, the AWS Cloud Foundation certification is much more aligned to kind of business and IT than it is around computer science. So it's a professional certification, and it's meant for executives who their companies are involved in cloud computing, and they want to gain an understanding of the components that their engineers are building. So it doesn't necessarily assume real technical skills. However, if you're a student and you want to get involved in it and you want to take it, you will get much better perspective on the materials you're learning if you have a brief understanding of networking and basic computing and virtualization. So yes, there's no prerequisite there, but it's a prerequisite of comprehension and understanding more than it is just passing the certification.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. But that course, Foundations course, is also helpful for the next course to get into the architecture course too. Big help.
Yeah, and it's a prerequisite essentially.
Yeah, we sort of did away with prerequisites in teaching our courses because they were a barrier at the colleges for students who have skills already and want to come in. So it makes it tough because we have to do counseling for students who come in and may not have those skills and advise them. So a little more work, but helps with our enrollment if we don't put up those barriers.
And as you're talking about this, it reminds me of a challenge that Mike and I were talking about yesterday on the sort of the computer science programming side of things, which we sometimes don't pay that much attention to because of the split between transfer versus career education stuff. But the need to cloudify those computer science pathways up into the transfer into bachelor's programs and beyond is also, I think, a critical component of what we're trying to do with cloudifying our curriculum across all aspects of it. So I put a couple of notes over in the chat box. We do have a website, bayict.org, that we've just started. We're using that for our employer engagement activities, and then also we're listing programs there, and that'll continue to expand. Encourage you to take a look over there. And if you see something over there that looks goofy, please let us know, because we're trying to like I say, we've just launched it, and there's still quite a bit of work to do. And then we also have Bay ICT on LinkedIn. So it's pretty easy to go onto LinkedIn and just follow Bay ICT. That way you would be updated on activities that we're doing here in the Bay Area region. And at this point, with a minute or two left, I'm going to turn it back to Steve to tie a bow on the webinar today.
Well, you know, it's hard to tie a bow around this one. You ever had one of those Christmas presents that just defied shape and form, and you have you have this wrapping paper, and you're sitting there saying, well, do I like try to wrap around it, or can I get a bag and put a bow on it, or what is it? And this is what this reminds me of, because we still have a huge number of different ways to go with cloud, and you know, all of us, I think, are adjusting to it as the industry grows like crazy. And so I definitely echo the comment that a fundamental core curriculum is probably a good thing for all of us to be aware of and to share. I think Richard's identified that already, and it also overlaps pretty well with our cybersecurity efforts. And so I think to the extent that we can look at those core courses as being something to draw from, and then build on these different unique academies that are out there. And I think we're in a wonderful position of being able to work with so many different vendors who have products, and we'll have to keep an eye on the market and listen to our students and listen to our employers. And I don't think you can go wrong with having 4 different colleges supporting 4 different types of cloud platforms, because I think the market is that big. So I'm not sure if that puts a wrapper around anything. I think a lot of people, including our chancellor's office, would like to see this thing simplified so we can come up with 1 or 2 pathways for everybody to say, this is what we're doing for cloud. And I'm not sure that we're seeing that as a possibility yet. Maybe. Anybody want to comment on that one?
It's just, you know, cloud is computing, and computing is broad. It affects everything. So there's no simple, you know, solution really to teaching it.
Well, I'm glad of the effort everybody's doing. I mean, it always gives me goosebumps when I hear about all the work that's being done out there, and how much heart and soul goes into these efforts by the faculty and the administrations of the different colleges. And you all are to be commended for doing the right thing, because I know you don't get a bonus for doing this stuff right. You just get a sense of job well done. And I hope we all feel good about that. And I'm going to take advantage of that high note to go ahead and wrap this up. And if there are any questions left in here in the chat, whatever, I'm sure Ray and Richard and Olivia can do their best with the attendees we had to get back the information. Thank you all very much.